Hi everybody, Larry Vela here.
And I'm AdamHarry.
And we have Warhammer Age of Sigmar Battletome Daughters of Khaine.
Yes!
Dun dun dun!
The snakes and the harpies are here.
That is correct. All of the murderous murder ladies of Cain are back.
But they're ordered this time. They're good guys.
But their heart's not in it. It's like it even so. This is a very cool book. It is the latest Battletome, obviously for Age of Sigmar. We haven't had a new Battletome in a little bit. We had Maggotkin before.
Maggotkin before this, but we've got it's the first aelf Battletome. I'm really excited about it. Because it's a new chapter.
It's now the elf's turn. Last year we got to see Kharadron Overlords, so they got totally reinvented. So there's two, there was the
Fire Slayer, and the Kharadron Overlords.
Right, so there's two very different ones.
The dwarfs got redone this year. The elves are getting redone.
And Sylvaneth was done, so now we're getting to see what is the reinvented witch kind of section of what used to be Dark Elves in Warhammer Fantasy look like. Yeah, and they're pretty cool. So let's we'll do some quick basics here first.
It is a hardback. It's 88 pages long.
It is.
It's got all your background rules,
it is 88
points,
pages long,
all that fun stuff in here.
Obviously, it is going to. It focuses heavily on the big new model on Marathi,
which Marathi
pretty hot,
awesome.
So definitely unlike some of the other Age of Sigmar battle tomes we've seen, this one does focus on the new minis because there are new minis for this.
There are new minis, which is super fun.
It's real, it is not like say. The undead ones that have just been just a bunch of existing units.
Right. This is an actual. It wasn't like a Malign Portents or Legion of Gash. There's actually a ton of new
stuff in here.
New stuff to go around.
So we're gonna go over this whole book with you, and we're gonna start off with some basics. So first of all, table of contents. So 88 pages.
Yep.
We have approximately. We're gonna give you a quick breakdown. You have. The lore and background section of the book, that is approximately 25 of those pages.
Yep.
Then we get into the rules.
Yep.
That is going to be
a couple of pages per unit.
About 20 pages. That's the middle third of the book. So that's all your relics and your leader traits and all that kind of stuff. You get all of, and then your actual war scrolls are the last 20 pages. Yeah. And really quick, because I know you guys are gonna want the compare and contrast. The 2-minute comparison is
this is the order. This was the big Grand Alliance order book. Yep. And it had Daughters of Khaine in it before.
That is correct. It has the Daughters of Khaine faction. Yeah. And really quick, flipping through that is at the very start. Go back.
Yeah, it's not a big section.
Yeah, right there. So the Daughters of Khaine section, it used to have one battalion in it, and that battalion is called the Bloodrack Sisterhood. This battalion is not in this book. Right. So you guys figure out what that means, legal or not, events or not, whatever. Now we're just going to point out that
I do want to say I think it technically should still be legal
because I think that the
units are still there.
Correct.
And there have been cases where where battle scrolls battalions specifically are not in their book.
Correct.
But the units themselves
still exist
and are different now.
That is correct. So that one battalion
we're talking
doesn't exist anymore. Every unit, however, that is in Grand Alliance order has been replaced, and it is now in this book with the same name, which is cool. And of course, there's a lot more in this book. This book also gives you 6 new battalions. So the big question is, are people still going to be holding out and trying to use that old one? Probably not.
I mean, it was 10 pages of units and war scrolls in this book, and now we have an 88-page hardback. Right. So you be the judge.
Okay, so let's start off with a lot of big reveals that are in this book. First of all, a lot of people are gonna glance over this section, but we are not. So you do get 25 pages right at the start of this book on lore and background, and I have read all of the war scrolls, all of the battle tomes, and some of them just talk about stuff and it's battles and heroes and things, and they just kind of go. But a lot of them don't necessarily contribute or to opening up big questions about the universe or answering big questions about the universe. This one does. There's a lot of big reveals in this book.
Yeah, let's
go through a couple of those. So first of all, obviously, almost all of this book is talking about Marathi and what she's been up to. So obviously, for those of you who don't remember, She is one of the main characters from the bad guy side, a villainess.
For Warhammer Fantasy,
she was
the Hag Queen.
She was the Hag Queen. She was the
Malekith Whisperer.
She was Malekith's mother.
Yeah, the Whisperer.
So, yes.
She was like, hey, do this.
Right. So she was one of the grand architects of the schism between the High Elves and the Dark Elves, and did all kinds of, lived, effectively forever and messed with everyone all the time and was always plotting. She's one of those characters who's always plotting, even to her own detriment. She just can't be honest.
Yeah.
And just there's always, an ulterior motive.
So at the end of the end times
of the end times,
yeah.
She was physically grasped and devoured by Slaanesh.
Yeah.
And then out and exit stage right, and that was the last.
She was dead.
Right, and that was the last we heard of her, and then there was an entire other book, that carried on end times past then. So this book opens up with what happened to her.
So what happened to her?
What happened to her was she just remembers falling for infinity and then landing somewhere, and basically she was consumed and was trapped in the belly of Slaanesh for thousands of years, along with all of her people. And apparently because she's just so bitter and nasty, she used magics and her guile and convinced Slaanesh to vomit her out.
Wow.
Of his its
It was
belly.
that heartburn she was causing.
Yes,
it was
exactly.
just so much bitter.
Correct. So what we find out in this book is basically she was vomited forth. She survived. Talks about her early days with taking part in the Grand Alliance with back when her and Nagash and Sigmar were all buds, and they all kind of put everything back together.
She was part of that whole pantheon.
She was.
Yeah.
And then it talks very early in the book about how even back then she knew it was only an excuse, and she and Sigmar parted ways quickly.
Yeah.
So she goes over to Ulgu. She goes over to the Realm of Shadows, and basically sets up her little empire there. And she starts to rebuild the Daughters of Khaine. And the big reveal that we find out in this book is we get to find out what actually happened to Slaanesh in these intervening thousands of years.
That was probably one of the biggest questions we've had going into the whole Age of... It's been, what, 3 years at this point?
Almost 3 years.
People were still like, what happened to Slaanesh? Is Slaanesh dead? Is he gone?
And this book tells you what happens to Slaanesh, so we're going to tell you.
Yeah.
What happened was... so she escapes, and all of the elves, they have their brittle Grand Alliance, and the two big elves on the good guy side who survive, obviously, are Tyrion and...
Tyrion Teclis are the Lords of Light.
Right,
Gods
they
of Light.
survive.
And then Malorion, which is the new...
Malarion, who's the new Malekith. He survives, he's the Lord of Shadow, and then there's Morathi. So the four of them form a superhero team-up.
Voltron style.
And she reveals her imprisonment and how she got out of Slaanesh's belly, and the four of them basically invent a master plot that they're going to lure Slaanesh into a place called the... Where is it? They're going to... Oh, it's over here. Sorry. It's not on that page. That's the problem. They lure... The four of them, through guile and using themselves as bait, lure Slaanesh into the Hidden Gloaming, which is a... basically shadow realm that exists at the border of the realms of Hysh and Ulgu.
Which are light and shadow, correct?
Right. So there's this weird middle ground.
The gray area.
Right, the gray area, you can't figure out what's going on. And they lure Slaanesh into there, and they imprison it, and then they combine all their magics to form a spell to suck all of the elf souls out. And
pumping Slaanesh's stomach, essentially.
Pretty much. And it works.
Yeah.
So Slaanesh is imprisoned, it's hidden, and is hidden in this weird mist-like realm, so that her followers can never find her. And the deal they cut is that all of the elf souls that are going to be... So these are all the elves who died when the Warhammer Fantasy world was destroyed. So Slaanesh ate them all. Now they're all being pulled
But they've been changed, right?
And the deal is that they cut a deal to where... Well, once the elf souls are rescued from Slaanesh's belly, they're each cut into 4 parts, and everyone gets a cut.
Yeah.
And they reform them as they wish. And because the 8 realms are different from the old world, and it's thousands of years later, and all of the great heroes are different too, what they reform these souls into is different for the Age of Sigmar. So as an example, we saw that what used to be wood elves became Sylvaneth. They're very different. And what used to be Morathi, it's going to take hers, and she reshapes them as she was twisted into a snake-like creature because she was trapped inside of Slaanesh. So these people are complete enemies of chaos, but her faction looks Slaaneshi because they were trapped within there for so many thousands of years.
She was tainted by Slaaneish's like magic, so her serpentine form,
and she's evil.
Well, yeah, too, but
that too.
Her serpentine form with the wings translated into when she's reforming her children now to resemble her. And
here's the catchphrase that they point out that I'm going to read verbatim so you all know it, which is that this is hints of what's going to happen with the new High Elves and the new Dark Elves whenever they come back, because those are the portions that were given to the other super elf heroes. To each of the elven gods was given a portion of the newly liberated souls, and each in turn reshaped and reformed those energies as they saw fit. They were not reincarnations of the elves of old, for they could not be, as much had changed, the gods, their magic, and even the souls themselves. Instead, new creatures were wrought. In Hysh, luminous beings and angelic creatures of reason were born. That's the High Elves. While those Malarian took to Ulgu were formed into something darker, something majestic and terrible at the same time.
Yeah.
Dark Elves.
Dark Elves from the shadow. Yep.
So that's the big thing. And then it goes on and on and on, and then they fight, and she takes all of her souls, and she rebuilds, her master fortress, and then they start building temples of Cain in all the other realms, even in Sigmar cities, and then they start recruiting, elves and ta-da, and we're all.
And she's also she's tricking basically the disciples of Cain, the daughters of Cain, that Cain is still alive.
That's correct.
But she's actually the one taking up all the worship and the power generated.
And that is one of the cool things that we find out in this, is that Morathi is so duplicitous and such a liar. Her entire religion is a lie. And we'll get to that in a little bit. There's all the normal stuff you expect. Lots of big stories.
Lots of really cool stuff.
With the Pantheon. There is a big giant hint in this book that I'm also going to read to you right now. I'll show this to you really quickly. There's the 2 pages of famous campaigns that you get in every battle tome. I'm going to read one to you because something is mentioned.
Just the 2.
Something is mentioned that we've never seen before.
This is super exciting.
Raiders from the Deep. When I read the story, there's a reference to something called the Kraith. The Kraith are one of Morathi's sects, so that's covered by this book.
Yeah.
In Gyron, bands of Ideneth Deepkin emerge from the mist to ambush and capture a war pilgrimage of the Kraith that is aiding Alariel in the War of Life. Realizing there are easier targets, these mysterious sea beings attempt to strike a truce, but as ever, the Kraith are unrelenting. The Kraith pursue their attackers, plunging headlong into the mists with their teeth bared. That section is once again called Raiders from the Deep.
What did we just see from GW? A ship underwater.
So I have a big, strong feeling that there's your hint for at some point in the future. I don't know whether they're elves or whether there'll be an entire another race. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a underwater sea people's faction coming to the Age of Sigmar.
Just a couple of call-outs real fast. Again, we mentioned the Kraith are a sect in here.
Right.
The War of Life is Alariel and the
Fighting Nurgle
Slaanesh
that we've covered in
Fighting
class
Nurgle. So that's what that was a reference to as well. Right. So yeah, it's a kind of a big deal. The Ideneth Deepkin.
Ideneth Deepkin, specifically referred to as Raiders from the Deep.
We might be seeing mer people.
And they are specifically designed as mysterious sea beings. Yeah. So these are a race of sea creatures.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Kind of crazy.
You get all of the background and the organization of her Cainite war covens. If you are familiar at all with Dark Elves from Warhammer Fantasy, vaguely similar. An interesting thing, especially for you 40k fans out there, kind of in a mirror of what happened to Cain in the Eldar folklore when Cain was destroyed. We do find you do get stories in here. The Iron Heart of Cain, right there. What we find out is that during the end times, when the old world was destroyed, Cain, the elf god of murder, was fought over and destroyed by chaos.
Yes.
So the chaos, they won. Cain was. See if this sounds familiar. Cain was chopped up into many shards and fragments. Those fragments were then, in a twist, the vast majority of them were claimed by Khorne. Khorne took all the fragments and hammered them into weapons that he gave to all of his bloodthirsters, which is cool, by the way.
Yeah.
Except Cain's heart. So the elf god of murder, the heart would not relent, and there's a whole story in here about how Khorne takes the heart and he squeezes it and they puts it into his hottest forges, and it will not melt. So he has this heart and he can't do anything with it, and he gets angry because he's Khorne, and he just hurls it. And eventually, it makes its way back into the mortal realms, and it's recovered, and Morathi ends up with it. So she actually physically owns the Heart of Cain,
yeah.
which is where she actually gets all of her powers. Yeah. Now, one of the tenets, the core tenets of the Daughters of Khaine religion is that Cain still exists, and Morathi is instructing all of her followers to go out there
because she's got his heart,
and they wage campaigns to try to find him, but she knows it's all a lie. So basically, she's duping all of her own followers, and it's all a big lie. She has the Heart of Cain, and she knows that that's the only part.
Were there any other major reveals we wanted to go off in here? Because it goes through a lot of the units.
No, that's about it. As far as lore goes,
Temples of Blood and things
that's
like
about
that.
it. We get the 6. You get all of the main. There's the 6 major covens who get rules.
Yeah.
As we've seen in many other books. So we get the Hagnar, the Draganeth, the Kraith. We've already talked about them. The Calithbron and the Keltnar. And I do not speak Dark Elf, so I apologize. Those are mispronounced. We get all of the lore on Marathi.
And just real quick too, we do get about a page or two per new army unit in here.
You get to find all the background.
Yeah, all the background for each one.
Cauldrons of Blood. Yeah. You get the Melusai, who are the snake ladies.
Yeah, Melusai are the Naga-esque serpents, and then the Canari are the winged harpy replacements.
That's correct.
I think that's actually really cool, the Canari harpies, because harpies were kind of a thing, kind of a big deal for the Dark Elves as a unit, a skirmish unit in the previous version in Warhammer Fantasy.
Yep.
So, and folks were clamoring for new harpies for a long time. So we actually have that now as a new kit, new set of models.
Yeah. In the middle of the book, we have our big giant. You get the 10 pages of color spreads.
Oh yeah.
It's all the sexy new miniatures. They're all in there.
And again, if you haven't heard, Marathi is 2 different miniatures.
She has 2 different models.
She starts off as a mortal. Well, not a mortal. She's the High Oracle.
Right.
She's a small character.
That's her false form.
When she hulks out, she becomes Marathi, the Shadow Queen, which is the giant snake. Which is super cool.
And there's rules for how all that works in here. Yep. You get the hobby section. All right, let's go over the actual rules.
Yeah.
And here we go. So first things first, you get all the basics. You know, there's battle. There's nothing on those 2 pages.
Yeah, it just goes over again. It has allegiance abilities.
Yep.
Allegiance abilities, battle traits, command traits. All those. You get 6 battle traits. Well, I think they're called.
Okay, so the first thing you get are your battle traits.
Blood rank table. Sorry, that's the 6.
You get your battle traits. These are the big faction special rules that that apply to if you have a Daughters of Khaine army. That's what you get. And here they are. 1, Fanatical Faith. You roll a die each time a wound or mortal wound is allocated to a friendly Daughter of Khaine model. On a 6-up, they negate it.
Yeah.
So they ignore things on a 6.
They do have a spell later on. We'll find out that helps them to reroll that if it fails.
Blood Rights. Friendly Daughters of Khaine units gain an ability each battle round as shown on the table to the right, and these effects are cumulative. Yeah. So basically, what happens is actually very similar to Power from Pain.
Yes.
From Warhammer 40,000. It's the same thing. There's a table every turn. They get a new ability.
Yeah.
Right. And we're going to go through them really quickly just because this is important. These are the main things that define the faction.
Are cumulative.
They are cumulative. All of these things affect rolls of 1s. That's the theme of this table is rolls of 1s. Number 1. So starting on turn 1. On turn 1, re-roll rolls of 1.
Yeah. In the second battle round.
Right. You get right.
Yeah.
So on turn 1, re-roll run rolls of 1.
Yeah. Quickening Bloodlust, then Headlong Fury, re-roll dice rolls of 1 when making charge rolls for this unit. That starts the second battle round.
Yep. Battle round 3, Zealot's Rage, re-roll hit rolls of 1. In addition, if this unit is an Avatar of Cain, always counts as being animated. So basically, we'll talk about that later. The big iron statues that are atop the Cauldrons of Blood, those, as they pointed out, those now as have the ability. You through magic have the ability to animate them, and they can start walking around and killing things.
Sounds familiar.
Super cool. Gee, I wonder where that's from. Also, that just happens on turn 3. So you can use your magic to activate them early in the game on turns 1 and 2, but on turn 3, they're just on.
Ready to go.
They're angry.
Turn 4 battle round is Slaughter Strength. Reroll wound rolls of 1 for this unit. And then finally, on the 5th and any subsequent battle rounds, if you're playing a scenario that's more than 5, Unquenchable Fervor. Reroll save rolls of 1 for this unit. In addition, you do not need to take battle shock tests for this unit.
All right. Command traits. There's 6 of them.
6 of
those. We're not going to go over all of them. We'll go over like the first 3. Number 1, Bathed in Blood. Increase your general's wounds by 1. Number 2, Zealous Orator. Friendly Daughters of Khaine units within 14 inches of the general use the general's bravery instead of their own.
And then I like this one right here. True Believers, the final one here in the
number 6.
This general counts the current battle round as a number one, being one higher than it actually is when determining what abilities they receive from the Blood Rights table that we just read off. So
that's nice.
Yeah, you get to your general gets to start a little bit better.
I would do that if I was going like heavy Cauldrons of Blood and have like avatars on the table, because they're all gonna start walking around on turn 2.
Yeah,
which is pretty sexy.
Pretty cool.
Command traits. Artifacts of Power. Again, you get 3 different tables.
Each has six relics.
Correct. There's Gifts of Marathi. This is for Daughters of Khaine heroes. Artifacts of Shadow. Daughters of Khaine heroes that are it's Daughters of Khaine's heroes, wizards, and priests.
Yeah.
So there's a table for each of them. As usual, we're gonna read. We'll read 3 of them. Daughters of Khaine heroes. Number 1, Crown of Woe. Subtract 1 from the bravery characteristic of enemy units within 7. And the first time you slay an enemy model, the range of this ability is increased to 14 for the remainder of the battle. That's cool. Cursed Blade is number 2. Pick 1 of the bearer's melee weapons. Add 1 to hit rolls for that weapon. In addition, each time a hit roll of 7+ is made for the weapon, the target suffers 1 mortal wound instead of normal damage. I'll let you go with number 3.
Also, I just like this one. Number 4 here is the Crone Blade. We've heard that name before.
Exactly.
Pick one of the bearer's melee weapons. Each time an enemy model is slain by an attack made with this weapon, you can heal 1 wound that has been allocated to the bearer. That sounds familiar.
A lot of these things have their inspiration from a lot of the magic items and artifacts that used to exist back in the Dark Elf books for Warhammer Fantasy, which is kind of cool. There's a lot of callbacks in this book, as you would expect, to the old Dark Elf book. And
I'm not saying that's a Ynnari Crone Blade.
Right. But it has the same name.
But there are some Crone Blades missing. So anyway.
Artifacts of Shadow. I'll let you go with those.
Yeah, we've got, again, 6 more of these. Let's see. I'm going to go with number 5 here. Crystal Heart. The bearer can attempt to cast a second spell in each of your hero phases. If they do so, roll a dice before the casting roll is made. On a 1, the bearer suffers D3 mortal wounds. So a little risk, a little reward. But again, these are for wizards, so being able to cast a second spell is kind of nice.
Good.
We've got number 2, Rune of Ulugu. The bearer knows 1 additional spell from the Lore of Shadows, which is pretty cool.
Once again, this is the table for wizards, so these are all magic-related things, obviously. Number 3, I like the Mirror Glaive.
Yeah.
Each time the bearer unbinds an enemy's spell, they can immediately attempt to cast either Mystic Shield or Arcane Bolt as if it were your hero phase. Your opponent cannot attempt to unbind that spell, so that's the old Jedi, catch it and throw it right back at you.
I really like that, too, because Mystic Shield... generally useful. Arcane Bolt, it's just extra damage.
Sure.
So anytime you unbind, that's just, again, just handy.
It's just cool.
Yeah. And then finally we have the Relics of Cain.
This is for priests.
Yeah. And basically the way the casters work in this book, you've got your wizards who are Lore of Shadow devotees, and then you've got your priests of Cain who are using blood magic and that type of stuff.
Yep.
So let's see. I'll go over here. We have the Crimson Shard. The bear's Blade of Cain has a 2 wound characteristic of 2+, which means you're going to be cutting people real good with that. So,
Iron Circlet, number 2. Whenever the bearer prays, reroll rolls of 1 to see if the prayer is successful or not. Their prayers is it's their own unique magic table, of powers that priests get. So, this is all very similar to the magic table, except that it affects prayers instead of spells.
Right. And it's a little bit more active in terms of like buffing the unit to do damage type stuff. So
go ahead.
And then last, I'll do number 6 here. Hag Brew. Add 1 to the wound rolls.
Great.
Of the bearer's melee weapons. So +1 to wound, which is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Especially because they have a lot of abilities. I believe on 6+ you do mortal wounds and things like that.
Okay.
So that's nice.
So those are Artifacts of Power, 3 tables worth of them. Yep. And then here we go. The next page is Lore of Shadows and Prayers of the Cainite Cult.
Again,
so
these are the spells, magic items, or magic abilities, whatever you call them, and there's 6 for both.
Yeah.
So you get a total of 12 spells.
Exactly. The Lore of Shadows, that's used by wizards. Prayers of the Cainite Cult, that's used by priests.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Lore of Shadows first. We'll pick 3 of these randomly. Steed of Shadows is a you summon a.
It's a classic spell, actually.
Yeah. It's a magic evil horse.
Yep.
Steed of Shadows, casting value of 5. If you're successful until the start of your next hero phase, the caster can move. The caster can fly and has a move characteristic of 16.
Actually, I recognize 3 of these right off the bat as formerly Lords of Shadow from from the old times.
Yeah, these are absolutely these are old Dark Elf spells.
Yeah,
like Mind Razor. I remember Mind Razor.
Yeah, it's different now. Pit of Shades, which oh my gosh, that spell.
I'll let you do Pit of Shades.
Pit of Shades has a casting value of 7. If successfully cast, pick an enemy within 18 inches of the caster that is visible to them. Roll 2 dice and add the scores together. The enemy suffers 1 mortal wound for each point by which the total exceeds their move characteristic.
Ooh, that's gonna be super good on undead.
On slow units, it's bad.
It's gonna nail undead.
I actually, I have some bad memories of getting hit with Pit of Shades. If you remember back in the old times, it was like the small template, a little one, or the big one. And anything under the template had to make an initiative check or fail.
Just gone.
It was one of those unit killing, unit deleting spells. This one's not as mean, but you can still really do a lot of damage to it.
Yeah, because it has a max of 2d6 because it's so it's a max of 12 models, and then some of those are going to make their checks, and so it's not.
Well, it's just you just have to beat their movement penalty. So if most stuff moves 5 or 6, you may get 2 or 3 models on average, but you could have a really boxcar roll and just take out 6, 7 people, which is pretty mean.
Oh yeah. Mind Razor. Mind Razor has a casting value of 7. If successfully cast, pick a friendly Daughters of Khaine unit within 18 inches of the caster until the start of your next hero phase. The rend characteristic of that unit's melee weapons is improved by 1. For example, a rend characteristic of nil becomes rend -1. In addition, the damage characteristic of the unit's melee weapons is increased by 1 while attacking a target that has a lower bravery characteristic than they do. Cool.
Now, to combo with that, they also have other abilities that will let them lower people's bravery. So that actually can be pretty mean. And I want to call out one other thing about this spell. It's for each of their melee weapons. So if they have 2 melee weapons, not only do they get the improved rend value, they also get an additional attack per weapon. So that's kind of cool because you have units with multiple weapons, and when a unit attacks a melee like in Age of Sigmar, you get all of those attacks. So that's kind of a cool thing.
Prayers of the Cainite Cult.
Yeah, there's 6 of these as well. We were talking about Kane's Iron Heart, so let me read the Covenant of the Iron Heart.
Nice.
Pick a friendly Daughters of Khaine unit within 14 inches of the priest until the start of your next hero phase. You do not need to take battle shock tests for that unit.
Sweet.
It's pretty cool. Being immune to leadership is not having to take battle shock tests means you're not going to have units or models run away when they lose models. So pretty cool stuff.
Prayer number 1, Catechism of Murder. Gotta love that.
Yeah.
Pick a friendly Daughters of Khaine unit within 14 inches of the priest until the start of your next hero phase. Each time you make a hit roll of 6 for this unit in the combat phase, that attack inflicts 2 hits instead of 1.
Nice.
All right. Just lots. Just 6s are generating bonus hits.
Nice.
Which is cool.
No, not like extra rolls. It's just automatic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then finally, number 6 here, Sacrament of Blood. Pick a friendly Daughters of Khaine unit within 14 inches. We're noticing a trend with these. They're all 14 inches, actually. Until the start of your next hero phase, that unit counts the current battle round as a number being 1 higher than it actually is when determining their abilities when it receives the blood rights that we read earlier. So that's also cumulative with other blood.
So, that's the note. It specifically says this is cumulative with other effects. So if you cast
the Sacrament of Blood with your warlord,
with your general's trait that already now you're +2 on that table.
So kind of cool.
Which was that's really.
And then we mentioned this earlier. There are 6 factions. They each are going to get their own special rules. It's just as we've seen with all of the other Battletomes. We'll go through these because it won't take us too long. We're going to summarize them quickly. Hagnar is their special abilities are. Well, real quick too. They each have their own unique ability. A War Scroll Battalion, which is outlined here, and they each have extra either command trait, or artifact power, things like that.
Right, so we'll just go through the abilities. Hagnar's ability is while a Hagnar unit is benefiting from Zealot's Rage from the Blood Rights battle trait, you can re-roll failed to hit rolls for the unit instead of only re-roll it. So all failed hit rolls instead of only failed to hit rolls of 1.
Yeah. This is the
Drakai Ganeth.
Drakai Ganeth. That's I don't speak Dark Elf either, so. Bladed Killers. Add 1 to hit rolls for Drakai Ganeth units in the combat phase if they charge the same turn, which is pretty cool.
So they're the they hit better.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we have
the Kraith, which we've heard before. The Kraith, Disciples of Slaughter. Roll a die after a Kraith unit has fought in the combat phase if there are any enemy units within 3 inches of it. On a 6, you can pile in an attack with that unit for a second time. So they're like crazy frenzy people.
Yeah,
which can get free. If you can wipe units, they can just jump over and get a whole free extra attack, which is really nasty.
Actually, they don't have to wipe units. It's if they fought earlier.
Oh, it's if they fought earlier.
Yeah, if they fought earlier. So basically, if they started
they just
around,
pile in again.
Yeah, they just get a pile in attack, and it it's on a 6-up. But if you have enough Kraith units out there,
sure,
one of those is probably going to get a 6 round. So
that's pretty good.
And then we have the Khaliborn. They have concealment and stealth. These are the sneaky guys. Subtract 1 from hit rolls that target Khaliborn units in the shooting phase.
That's actually really good.
Yeah,
because as a faction, these ladies don't have a lot of armor.
No.
So that's
not getting hit is better than having to make armor saves.
That's really good. Yeah. I like that one a lot. And that was it for those. You get a bunch of missions. You get Altars of War.
Wait, is it 6 or was it 4?
I thought there was 6, but maybe we skipped a page. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4.
Oh, yeah. So there's 4.
So you get 4 of them. So they had.
I think there's other battalion war scrolls. You might end up getting those mixed up.
So you get rules for 4. You get your Altars of War. So if you're doing
special missions,
right, you get your special missions, and then you get rules for Path to Glory. If you're doing campaign play, you get all of the normal stuff.
Yeah, we're not. All that stuff is included in this book as well.
You get
your warband tables to roll on, and champion rewards tables too.
Yeah, all that stuff. So if you're into all that super
campaign stuff is great.
You're good. It's all there. Keep on going. And then the actual war scrolls.
Yeah.
Okay, so
let's just skip to the new units real fast.
Really quick, you do get 6 new battalions in here. Let's not necessarily do all. Let's just talk about roughly what they are. Sure. War Covenant of Marathi, that's the main one.
That's the big.
Right. It's Marathi, a Cauldron of Blood, Slaughter Troop, Temple Nest, and a Shadow. That's the big giant master one. That's just kind of everything all pulled together.
If you take all of those smaller battalions, you get the big bonuses and stuff like that.
Yeah, you don't take battle shock chests for anything that's within 18 inches of Morathi.
Yeah. Cauldron Guard is a Hag Queen and 2 units of Witch Elves and 2 units of Canary Life Takers, which are the Harpy units. They get to add 1 to the running charge rolls.
So they're fast.
They're faster.
They're fast.
And then the Slaughter Troop, that's another battalion.
That's all witches. So that's a Slaughter Queen, 2 units of Sisters of Slaughter, and 2 units of Canary Heartrenders, who are the Harpies who shoot.
No, they have the javelins.
Oh, yes, javelins. And they can retreat and still shoot. So they're
pretty mean.
Kind of tricksy.
Yeah.
Temple Nest.
Temple Nest, that's 1 unit of one Bloodwrack Medusa, and 2 units of Bloodsuckers and 2 units of Blood Sisters.
So this is all snakes.
Yeah, it's all. Indiana Jones loves this formation.
It's all snakes, and each time an opponent makes a hit roll of 1 when attacking them in the combat phase, the attacking unit suffers a mortal wound. So basically, this is the thing. They're all Medusas, so they turn you to crystal. So when you fight them, if you don't roll ones.
Don't roll ones.
Because then you kill yourself. Shadow Patrol. This is 4 units of Canary Harpies and 2 units of Doomfire Warlocks. So these are kind of the fast, sneaky, kind of the scouting battalion. And then there's a Shadow Hammer Compact,
which is interesting because this is
a really big one.
This is a big one. This has Stormcast Eternals fighting with them. So
this one we'll go over because it's weird.
Yeah, you get 1 Slaughter Queen, 2 units of Witch Elves, 1 unit of Canary Harpies, 1 unit of Bloodsuckers, 2 units of Liberators, a unit of Prosecutors, and a unit of Judicators. Again, those last 3
are Stormcast Eternals. So this is a half.
Yeah,
we've seen some of these before in Carriage and Overlords.
Oh yeah,
has some fusion.
All of the order,
actually,
all of them have cross pollination stuff. So,
and what is the ability?
So this is Righteous Fervor. In your hero phase, choose 1 Daughters of Khaine unit from this battalion and 1 Stormcast Eternal unit from this battalion that are within 6 inches of each other. Both units can either make a normal move, as if it were your movement phase, shoot as if it were shooting phase, or pile in and attack as if it were your combat phase. Both units must perform the same action. If only one of the units is able to perform the action you choose, for example, if one of the units shoots but the other has no missile weapons, then the other unit does nothing. So it's just kind of cool because this happens during your hero phase. You get a free move, a free attack, or a free shot, which, depending on what 2 units you pick, can be really handy.
Sure.
So That's kind of a cool ability.
Okay, so Marathi, this is the one everybody wants. She has 2 full pages. There's Marathi, High Oracle of Cain. That's in her kind of mortal.
Yeah,
and then there's Marathi, the Shadow Queen.
Snake form.
Her move. Let's start off with Marathi, High Oracle of Cain. Move is 6, save is 4+, 9 bravery, 6 wounds. She is armed with Heartrender and her bladed wings. Her special abilities, Monstrous Transformation. At the start of your hero phase, she can transform into her monstrous aspect, which will then use the other one. So she can transform during the game.
Yeah.
For a description of how it works, the truth revealed, if she's wounded, there's a chance she will no longer be able to contain her wrath and will transform. So you roll at the start of your hero phase. If the result is equal or less to the number of wounds currently allocated to her, she transforms. So as she gets hurt, she's going to Hulk out.
Yeah.
The Iron Heart of Cain.
I want to mention this part real fast too. She's only got 6 wounds.
Okay.
But she has the Iron Heart of Cain, which I'm gonna let you read because
the Iron Heart of Cain, Marathi, High Oracle of Cain cannot. The High Oracle of Cain, which is this one in her small form, cannot be healed, but no more than 3 wounds can be allocated to her in any one turn. In addition, any additional wounds and/or mortal wounds allocated to her are negated and have no effect.
Right. So again, she has 6 wounds, and she can only ever take 3 wounds per turn.
Yes.
Total. That's including mortal wounds. She's going to be around for a minimum of 2 turns.
They probably did that mainly so that she can't just be insta-killed. It's so that she's going to take the 3 wounds, and then you're going to transform her into into her big, super scary aspect.
Yeah, most likely. But it's just really interesting because most games of Age of Sigmar last 5 turns.
Right.
So if you have a character that's guaranteed to last a minimum of 2 turns,
that's going to help.
Kind of cool. And then, just a spoiler, when she becomes the Shadow Queen, the Big Snake, she has the same ability.
Yes.
And she's got 12 wounds in that form.
Yes.
So if you're doing math at home, that means little for 1 round minimum. She can last for 2 rounds, up to 2 rounds, no problem. And then she has 12 wounds. 12 divided by 3 is 4. There's a good chance she's not going out, is all I'm saying. If you can somehow keep her around, or if she only takes 2 wounds in one of those turns, she's not going to die by the end of the game, which is pretty cool. Now, there are some ways to get around that. If you have abilities that just slay models instantaneously, like Nagash's Hand of Dust is one example.
Right. Things that just like remove you from play.
That will remove her from play. So maybe don't go toe-to-toe with Nagash.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, who should? But
Supreme Sorceress, she adds 1 to casting and unbinding rolls, and doubles the range of any spell she attempts to cast. That's cool.
Yeah, a lot of that's going to push her spells out to 36 inches.
Sure. Enchanting Beauty, subtract 1 from the hit rolls of attacks that target her.
Yep.
Magic, she's a wizard. She can cast 3 in your hero phase. She can attempt to unbind 2. And then Arnzapal's Black Horror.
That's pretty good. I don't speak.
That is her unique spell that she knows. Has casting value of 7. If successfully cast, pick an enemy unit within 18 inches of the caster that is visible. Roll a die. On a 1, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 2 or 3, it suffers D3 mortal wounds. On a 4, it suffers D6 mortal wounds.
So she gets smite.
Pretty much. Her command ability, Worship Through Bloodshed. If she's your general, she can. You pick 2 friendly Daughters of Khaine units within 14 inches of her. Those units can immediately shoot as if it were the shooting phase. Alternately, if either unit is within 3, they can instead pile in and attack as if it were the combat phase.
So she just, within 3 inches of an enemy, they can immediately attack.
So she just pumps up 2 units a turn.
Yeah,
which is cool.
That's also in the hero phase as well.
That's correct. Marathi, the Shadow Queen. This is her big monstrous form.
Yep.
Her save stays at 4+, her bravery stays at 9, her wounds increase to 12. That's the big difference. She has a whole bunch of weapons.
As she takes wounds, her movement speed does drop, and she's got one of the little damage tables for her movement, her Heartrender, and her Envenom Tail, and they'll get slightly weaker.
Yeah, she gains Fly.
She does also have a missile attack at that point, which is the Gaze of Marathi, which I believe...
Strength 6, 1 attack, hits on a 2+, and has special rules below.
If it's hit by the Gaze, pick a model... no, range 6, not strength 6.
Yeah,
if the target is hit by the Gaze, target unit roll a die. If the result exceeds the model's wound characteristics, it is slain.
Cool. So it's not doing damage, it's just you're dead.
Yeah, by the way, that's one of the examples that if you were playing a mirror match,
sure,
she could kill herself with that.
Sure.
You get what I'm saying. Right. But that's a remove model, basically.
Yeah. She gains Fly.
Yep.
when she's in her monstrous form. There's a big giant section that we're not going to read you because, I mean, it is literally like half the page. There's a long set of rules that govern how she transforms, and it's all weird and complicated.
These will be available online when the kit comes out if you want to read them.
Yeah, just go to the Games Workshop store. Everything's there.
Yeah,
but
again,
it'll be there.
Games Marathi, we mentioned the Ironheart of Cain,
which
same
she
thing.
keeps.
Can't take more than 3 wounds, which is awesome.
And her spells are unchanged.
Yeah, and she has the Arzapal's Black Horror again.
Yep. Most of these rules are kind of how you swap the models out and how you do placement, because obviously the models are weird. We're going to quickly go over the other units. These units are mainly the same as what was already in the book, in Grand Alliance order, except the new models are in here, and some things are kind of different.
There's a Hag Queen, Slaughter Queen.
The Hag Queen and Slaughter Queen, those existed before. The Hag Queen that's the sorceress, so that's just the supreme. That's just that is a caster.
Wizard.
Right, that's the wizard. The Slaughter Queen is the close combat fighter.
It's a priest.
That's the super.
She's the priest.
Correct. Too. That's the super witch. And then, but the big one you really want is Avatar of Cain. This is the rules for using the so that's the statue who's on top of the Cauldron of Blood, who you can now animate and walks around and kills things.
Yeah. So if you had an old Cauldron of Blood and used the Blood Rack, the other option with the Medusa running around, now you can use the Avatar of Cain to actually.
Okay, so the Avatar of Cain, this is new. Move 9, save 4+, bravery 10, wounds 9. Missile weapons, Torrent of Burning Blood, range 10, 6 attacks, 3 up to hit, 3 up to wound, -1 rend, 1 damage, and his melee weapon is Avatar of Cain's sword. It's a big giant sword. 2-inch range, 4 attacks, hits on a 3, wounds on a 3, -2 rend, 3 damage.
Boom!
That one hurts. He's a single model. His abilities, Wrath of Cain, if your army includes any avatars of Cain, friendly Daughters of Khaine priests know the Wrath of Cain prayer in addition to any other prayers they know. The Wrath of Cain prayer is right down here. Pick a friendly avatar of Cain on the battlefield until your next hero phase. It is animated. So you'll notice you can use that prayer to activate these guys in the early phases of the game, but as we've already seen, once you reach like turn 3, these guys just animate by themselves and start walking around and doing things. Up until then, you have to use a spell to try to get them moving.
Normally, the avatar cannot move, cannot shoot, and cannot be selected to fight unless a friendly Daughters of Khaine priest use the Wrath of Cain power to animate it.
Right.
So you have to kind of spend some action economy to get it moving, but once it does, it's pretty good.
But they do point out that even when it's not animated, it still exists. So it is a model, it's part of your army, and it can be shot at and destroyed.
Yes.
So they can actually, like, enemies can just be like, kill that thing before it starts walking, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So...
And then it also has Idol Worship. Add 1 to the bravery characteristics of friendly Daughters of Khaine units from the 7 of this. Which is, again, it combos really well with some of the other abilities we've seen where if the Daughters of Khaine have more bravery than the target unit, they get better stat. So Mind Razor works really well.
Before, in Grand Alliance Order, we used to just have the Cauldron of Blood. In the new book, they've turned it into multiple units. Yes. So you now get the Hag Queen on a Cauldron of Blood, or the Slaughter Queen on a Cauldron of Blood. They're slightly different. It's basically, obviously, one is going to be more combat-based, one is going to be more magic-based. It's just, it's the hero attached to it, and you get the... And you get the avatar, which can be animated. So Cauldrons of Blood are now really kind of big deals.
And then the Blood Rack Shrine, that was the option with Medusa on top.
That's with the Medusa on top.
Those rules are different than original.
Yeah.
Now we want to touch on real quick the final 4 new units. We're not going to go through everything.
Right.
The Blood Sisters and Bloodstalkers, again, these are the Melusai.
Right.
Models,
so those are the
Snake
snake ladies.
Yeah, the snakes. The Blood Sisters we've actually seen before in a previous preview. 2 wounds, 8 move, 5 up save, 8 bravery. They have the Heartseeker Glaive and Crystal Touch. Heartseeker Glaive is a range 2, 3 attack, hits on 3, wounds on 3, -1 rend, 1 damage. Crystal Touch is a special attack that's 1 shot and it can turn people.
It inflicts a mortal wound.
Mortal wound, yeah.
Which is cool.
And then that's what they do. The Bloodstalkers are the ranged
but
version.
with bows.
Yeah, 8 move, 2 wounds, 5 up save, 8 bravery. Big deal here is the Heartseeker Bow. For each time you roll a hit of 6+, for this unit in the shooting phase, the target suffers 1 mortal wound instead of the normal damage.
Which is cool.
Which is just straight up 1 damage, mortal wound. I do want to call out one thing real fast about the Heartseeker Bow. It's only 1 attack.
Sure.
That was a little disappointing. I thought they'd get 2 shots per. Sure. But, it's still 1 attack.
At the same time, they are still decent in assault. So they can get in there and still kill.
That's the trade-off, is they still have the sacrificial dagger, and they have their character has a bloodworm. So
for those of you who used to play Dark Elves like I did, that entire unit and mechanic of shooting you in the heart, that's, again, a callback, because there used to be a Heartseeker Bow that you could buy as a relic.
The Bloodrack Medusa is not new, but it's got rules.
It's slightly tweaked. Basically, there's rules now for using the Bloodrack Medusa as its own model. It doesn't so you can have it on the big machine or just running around. Doomfire Warlocks about the same, and then the last two new units are the Harpy replacements, the Kinneri. Heart Renders and Life Takers. I'll let you go.
The Heart Renders are the Javelin version. They have barbed javelins that can be used as either melee or missile weapons. Missile version is a 12-inch range, 1 attack, hits and wounds on 3, -1 rend, 1 damage. The melee version, 2-inch range because it's melee, hits on a 4, wounds on a 4, 1 rend, 1 damage. But the big deal here is both versions of the Kinneri can descend to battle, which is lets them drop in 9 inches away from an enemy unit, and that's their move for that phase. This happens during the movement phase. They both have
fire and flight and fight and flight, which is the same. It's roughly the same thing.
Heart Renders can shoot. Let's see. After the shooting phase, after they've made all attacks on a 4-up, it can make a 6-inch normal move, which is pretty cool. So they can fire and fade. The Kinneri Life Takers have the same kind of thing. After the combat phase, after they're finished making all attacks, in the combat phase, after this unit has finished making all the attacks, roll die on a 4-up, it can make a 6-inch normal moves as if it were your movement phase. I want to call something out about that one in particular. If you activate this unit in combat, after it's done attacking on a 4-up, they can move up to 6 inches away. That can pull them out of combat. So they can hit something and then hit it on a 4-up, they can get away and not get hit back, which is kind of a big deal.
The other cool thing about these is that they have a Heart Piercer shield, both units do, and the models have this funky shield that is actually both a shield and a weapon. It gives them a
combat roll of a save 6, combat save of 6 up.
Right.
Of
5. But anytime they roll a 6 to save, they also stab you and inflict a mortal wound on who they're fighting. Very cool.
And then they have Death from Above for the Heart Renders. This unit can shoot even if it ran in the same turn. In addition, the shooting phase changed the rend characteristic of this unit's barbed javelins to -2 if it was set up on the battlefield on the same turn. So when they come in, you get a -2 rend. That's pretty cool. And then Death on the Wind for the Life Takers. Add 1 to the damage characteristic of this unit's barbed sickles. If it made a charge move in the same turn. So and then, they wound you better on the charge.
And then finally, just their basic stats for all of the... We have Move 14, Save 6, Bravery 7, Wounds 1. This is a super fast-moving unit that is really squishy. Almost no armor. So, and then you got points at the back, and that is it. So, my friends, thank you for... That is our our pretty deep dive into Battletome Daughters of Blood, all murder ladies, all the time.
Daughters of Khaine.
Daughters of Khaine.
Coming at you. Go check them out. Cover your heart. Cover the heart, Indy.
Cover the heart.
Cover the heart. I'm AdamHarry.
I'm Larry.
We're both from BoLS. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Click to subscribe. Support us on Patreon. Check out more videos. And thanks for watching.